relaxing feels like wasting time. At 23, you don't know what to be afraid of. You don't know what falling off a cliff's about. And at 23 and poor, you have nothing to lose.
The biggest residential real estate firm in New York. Why? If you're driven by these kind of unhealthy insecurities, you need to, at some point, go and see a shrink.
I'm afraid to see a shrink.
Why?
I'm afraid they'll straighten me out. And would I be successful then? I stay a mile away. I know it's crazy. I've read a few books and self-analyze. But no. First of all, they're very expensive in New York. And in that way, I'm too cheap to pay. My shrink is working out. If I work out or if I weed my garden, I'm straightened out for the moment. Okay. But that's the way it is.
I ask for selfish reasons. I found myself at one point for the same sort of insecurities and feeling like I wasn't enough, being very driven to like prove the world that I was. And at some point that comes at the cost of like this other set of things which are important for happiness, relationships and balance and whatever else. So when you said about at some point you need to go see a shrink, I get it, because at some point you can be a bit too dragged by your pursuit to prove the world that you are enough, that you
Of course it's too much.
compromise a bunch of other things.
Of course you do. I mean, if you're strong in one arena, something's got to give. Right?
What had to give for you?
Relaxing. I don't think I've ever relaxed in my life. But honestly, when I'm relaxed, reading a book, it's fine for a half hour. And then I got to get up and accomplish something. I'm very driven to accomplish, to see the difference I've made in the world, to an individual I just spoke to a business I've been involved in, to a neighbor I've befriended.
Why?
Why? Because I want to know for sure, without a doubt, that I haven't wasted a minute and that my existence makes a difference.
Why?
Because I think it's important. Why? Well, you ask good questions. Damn you. Why? Why is that? Because I don't want it to be a wasted life. You know, I'm just one of those that you get one shot at it, and I want to see how much of an influence and how much of a difference I can make. I really do. I mean, so I guess relaxing feels like wasting time. It doesn't mean that I can't have fun with friends. I have the most great circle of close friends that I have so much fun with. That's a priority in my life, and it was a priority in my business. Fun is number one in developing teams, I believe. But in addition to that, I just have to be productive.
You borrowed $1,000 off Ray.
Yeah, Ramon Simone. Yep.
Ramon Simone.
Nice name, huh?
Ramon Simone. Wow. Okay. And he was your boyfriend at the time.
He was my boyfriend. I met him at the diner. That was my last diner job. And he offered to loan me $1,000 to start a business within 3 months.
Did you ask him for the money?
No. He said, "You've got a great personality. You'd be great in real estate sales. Why don't you start a business?" And that's how it happened.
Really?
Yeah. So he had a gift for seeing talent, obviously, you know.
And then off you go. 24 years old, you started your own.
23. But let
23.
let me tell you something. Thank God. At 23, you don't know what to be afraid of. You don't know what falling off a cliff's about. And at 23 and poor, you have nothing to lose. There was no risk involved. I could always get my diner job back, or any waitress job, or a pool hand, or I had millions of jobs I could get. I wasn't afraid of being unemployed. So I figured, what the heck? I'll try it. Let's see where it goes. However, what I didn't know, and when the light went on in my head, was I didn't know how much I would like being a boss. First day, I'm like, I love this. Did I like real estate? Nah, I didn't really care about real estate. Did I like the people I was meeting? They're all nice, but I had been meeting nice people my whole life. But I love the fact that I was in charge. And so I loved real estate. I loved the people. I loved the paint on the wall. I loved everything because I was a boss. I was meant for being a boss. I felt so freed to dream and do whatever I wanted, and nobody could tell me what to do. It was the greatest gift of all, freedom. I'm getting juicy just talking about it.
That real estate company became very big. Am I right in thinking it became the biggest
residential firm in New York? Yes. Before I sold it, we were number one.
The biggest residential real estate firm in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because there's so many residential firms in New York. There's so many like real estate people. They're everywhere. I mean, every person I meet is in real estate in New York. So how do you become the best?
Honestly, I think there's a lot of reasons how you succeed, right? But I think the major cards were I was competing with the old boys network, and they were asleep at the wheel. It's not that they didn't do good work, but you have to realize real estate brokerage in New York when I was started, and I guess is somewhat the same, was controlled by rich guys who inherited the business from their father or their grandfather before them. So they were very important, very self-important, very well educated, very good at what they did, but they did the same old thing. They did it the same old way. And they also hired people like themselves. They were white, privileged, and they hired white, privileged women to work for them. That was a whole cast of characters. When I came in, I couldn't get those white, privileged women to work for me because I was a kid, I didn't know anything, and it was no status associated with it. We were a new kid in town. We had 3 people. Who was going to work for me? I had to beg, borrow, and steal to get anybody to work for me. And so they were cocky. And the minute I smelled that they were cocky, which happened to me about the 3rd year in business when I went to a large real estate board of New York meeting, I remember I went home and I said, I'm going to beat these guys. And I knew it because they were very cocky that they were in charge.
And what weakness did that create?
A tremendous weakness. They're blind. It's like competing with blind people. They were also rich enough not to want to lose money. When the market went south, which happens again and again in real estate, it's up-down market, they would not spend money. They would hold their money in and protect it. They would not take a chance because of the reputation. They would check what they were going to do against a committee. I didn't have committees. They would check what they were going to do against their attorneys. They had attorneys. They were all stop signs. I would think of an idea on a Tuesday and have it in the street by Wednesday. They would think of an idea on Tuesday if they even thought of it, or if they listened to a good employee who had a good idea, which tended not to do. It was always their ideas. But if they listened to that employee, they'd have to check it with the committee, work it up the line, talk to their dad, talk to the attorneys. I'm like, thank God they're in quicksand. So I think a big reason why I was able to succeed is because I competed against the norm of an old boy network. If I had to compete with other people like me, wanting to prove something, desperate to make a go of it, I would have had that hunger to compete with. These guys weren't hungry. They were well-fed and well-vacationed, and they liked it that way.
One of the things I took from that is whenever you're competing against like a big, complacent, slow incumbent, being the opposite of the incumbent is the winning strategy. You were quick because you didn't have that bureaucracy or sign off for lawyers. You were like high risk, you were agile, and you were naive.
Yeah, you know what else I had, which isn't to be underestimated? I had a wonderful imagination. I would think of the greatest bullshit to create publicity every day of the week. I just would dream up some stupid stuff and give it to the papers or the TV stations. I would churn out reports that I had no business turning out, but I could think of an idea a minute and I would just throw it out there and see what happened. Nobody was thinking of new ideas in real estate. It was about controlling the listing market and controlling the number of bodies working for you. That was the only game in town, not how you did it or what differently you could do. Nobody even really was concerned about the customer or the sellers. They just want to know if they had a contact with them because it was a contact game. But I came into a different generation where contacts meant less in New York. As the waters of New York changed and everybody started coming to New York, different nationalities and different colors of people, everything was changing. And these guys really thought it was not changed, you know? So it was such an advantage to have a lot of ideas and to have tattered soldiers, anybody you could get your hands on, and to make them believe they were as good as the fancy people. And my people believed they were as good. And you know what? They were as good, and they were better in the end because they all hustled, and they all had something to prove. You know, we were all the poor kids trying to make it in New York. You know, so we were all driven, you know. We were soulmates in a way.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.